This is going to be the world record plane. It's named after my wife. It's named Suzanne. It starts out with a couple of diagonal folds. A short side of the paper up. We're going to take the top of the page and put it against the side of the page. We're going to make two diagonal folds here. So let's practice on the other side, shall we? We're going to move this corner over, line up the top corner, and then swing this guy into position. And as a double check, I can see where my other diagonal is ending and sweep down that way. Now I've got nice tight corners everywhere, nice sharp creases. We're going to take the right-hand edge just from the creased corner down to where this crease meets the edge of the page, and we're going to lay it against the diagonal fold. We're going to take this creased corner and bring it just to the end of this crease right here. Fold the top down, and now you'll see those diagonal folds on the other side. What you want to do is line up the diagonal folds, the top layer of the diagonal with the very bottom layer of the diagonal on both sides, and that's how you know you're hitting the center of the X dead center. So let's follow the crease on both sides. What I find to be the easiest way to do it is to follow the creases on this side, but if you can see them clearly on the other side and that works for you, go ahead and use it. Flipped over. We're going to take this flap right here and fold it up over those two corners, and when we do the next move to fold the plane in half, the whole thing will be locked together. So let's fold from the top all the way down to the center of this edge to fold the plane in half. You can flip it over. And make sure the rear corners and the nose are perfect. The center corners, don't worry so much about. Don't spend a lot of time trying to line those guys up. The rear corners, and make sure you're hitting the nose cleanly. Now, here's the pro way to do it. Makes your wings a little bit wider, makes the plane a more efficient glider. If you start here and don't make the crease, but see, you've got a little triangle that you can see here, made up from this raw edge and the back of the fuselage. If you keep pulling the wing down just until that triangle disappears, that is a much better place to make the wing crease. It makes the tail much broader, gives you much better lifting characteristics. So let's make the other wing match. That should be an easy task. And the most important thing to remember is that every flight is a test flight. You're now a pilot. You're seeing if this thing flies. You're making adjustments to it. Most people think they can't fold a good plane, but the reality is they just haven't adjusted a good plane. So the first thing we do, the wings are drooping like that. We're going to give it what's called positive dihedral angle. Now, dihedral angle, that's just fancy words for the angle the wings are stuck to the body of the plane. And what that does, when you hold onto it where all the layers lock and just lift the leading edge of the wings, now you've got some upward sweep there. And what that does is put the lifting surface up over where all the weight is. So if the plane is flying along and it gets rocked to one side, just like a pendulum, the weight swings back underneath the wings, and that's called dead stick stability. The other thing we're going to do, aside from positive dihedral angle, is give the rear corners just a little upward bend. Not a lot. And don't make a crease, just make a bend. You can always undo the bend, flatten it out, or add a little bit more. And with all gliders, you're constantly trading height for speed. What do I mean by that? So if the center of gravity and the center of lift were perfectly lined up, your plane would fly nice and straight, and drag would constantly be slowing it down until it just fell out of the sky. A stall is caused by too slow of an airspeed or too high an angle of attack. That's where the wings are tilted up with regard to the direction of airflow. So if you have a plane that's flying straight and level and it's perfectly balanced, eventually drag will slow it till it falls out of the sky. So how do you fix that with a glider? With a powered plane, you just hit the gas, right? Super simple. With a glider, what you need to do is engineer in the center of gravity a little bit in front of the center of lift. The center of gravity is the center of spin. You can find that on any paper airplane simply by spinning it. You can see right where the center of gravity is on that plane. It's right here. You just watched it spin. The center of spin is the center of gravity. We've got all this lifting surface behind the center of gravity. So now the plane is going to fly along. The lift is back here. It pitches the nose downward as the plane's going forward. What does that do? That allows me to gain speed. The plane is being slowed. Now I'm pointing the nose at the ground, gaining speed, which is good, but now I keep gaining speed at 9.8 meters per second. It's going to crash into the ground really hard. So I bend in some up elevator back here, and the air goes down. The top of the wing hits that bend, gets kicked up, which pushes the tail down, which lifts the nose, and voila, now the nose is level again. So enough up elevator so at the right speed, the plane noses up enough to just achieve horizontal stability. That's the whole trick with any glider. You're constantly balancing that center of gravity, center of lift, and a little bit of up elevator to get that perfect flight.